So again, as I said earlier, I've had a great experience at Montclair State, and I've begun to give back here. I'm involved with the business school now, and I've given money, but also time. But the best gift I've given you so far is going to be Seth Goldman.
Thank you very much, Chuck. That's very nice. Well, it's great to be here. I've heard so much about this place from Chuck. He's a very proud alum, and he's always told me, you know, this is the kind of place where when you get people coming out of here, they're hardworking, they're not, as we say, coddled, they're ready to get the job done. And Chuck is a great example of it, and you'll hear how important he's been to our company. And I'm really glad to be here, especially this time of year. So when I started at the Yale School of Management, the first case study I picked up was called Rainforest Crunch. It was a story about a Ben & Jerry's spinoff that was trying to source from the rainforest and create a sustainable business. It actually failed, the business, but for me it was so inspiring because it caught me right when I was, you know, just starting to put ideas together, and all of a sudden I realized business could be so much more than just you know, business. It's not just about moving around product, it's actually creating something powerful. And so I want to share with you the story of what we've done at Honest Tea. And first I want to give you a sense of the kind of things that happen to us. So we're based in Bethesda, Maryland, and you know, and it's a little crazy down there in DC these days. You've seen, we had, just last week, we had this woman who drove her car into the Capitol. We had someone who tried to set themselves on fire in the mall. We have Congress shutting down. How is it, you know, is there anything positive coming out of all this? And I want to share with you, from my perspective at least, something that was positive. So at the beginning of last week, President Obama signed an order that helped make sure all the military was paid, you know, confirmed that they were essential personnel. And when he signed it, you'll see over here on his desk, a bottle of Honest Tea. Now, and this is the Resolute desk, you know, the one all the presidents have signed, and you know, he doesn't have a coaster there. I was thinking we should try to get him a coaster, but if I were setting up the shot, I would have, you know, turned the bottle around to make the label showing. But someone said, well, you could just Photoshop that in. I said, well, that's not honest. So, and you know, Barry said, look, when I make tea at home, I don't put 10 teaspoons of sugar in it. Why would I put why would I want a bottled tea that has 10 teaspoons of sugar? And so that was really the start of the idea. And so we got together, we launched the company, we registered the trademark, and when we registered the name, Barry had come up with the name Honest Tea. And so we registered it two ways. We called it Honest Tea. We sent in that application for the trademark, but we also sent it in as Honestea. And what was interesting there was we heard back from Nestea, their lawyers, who said, hey, you're trying to sell a product called Nestea. And I said, well, no, we weren't trying to do that, but I understand your concern, and we'll withdraw that application if you let us keep Honest Tea. So we did. And we were in business. I left my job where I've been working at a mutual fund company, and we brewed 5 thermoses of tea in my kitchen. We got an empty Snapple bottle that we pasted a label on, and then we went to the Whole Foods office and showed it to the buyer. And to my great delight and / horror, the buyer said, great, I'll take 15,000 bottles. Never made it anywhere but, you know, in our kitchen. And so I said, well, give me a few weeks and I'll deliver to your store. And we got into those first Whole Foods stores, 17 Whole Foods stores in the Mid-Atlantic, and started sampling. And by the end of that summer, we gave out more samples than we sold, but by the end of the summer, we were the best-selling tea in those Whole Foods stores. And then we took that to go to the rest of the Whole Foods stores around the country, and then beyond that to the natural food stores. So we really started to grow and expand. When you're an entrepreneur, you have to make quick decisions, and so that's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you a question. There will be a prize. The winner gets we have an Honest Tea t-shirt here. And I'm going to reward the students who chose to sit in the front. So I'm going to go to one, not yet, you have to win. so I'm going to ask a student from this section, a student from this section, and from that section, one question. No help from Chuck, by the way, over there. And so I'll give you a lot of time to think about it, which will be about 15 seconds, and then I'm going to ask for an answer. So the question is, you see here this bottle of honey green tea, which is our top seller. And the question I'm going to ask is, how much do you think it costs to make one bottle of honey green tea? And I'll give you 15 seconds, and then I'm going to ask one person from each row for the answer. So just think about it. You don't have to yell it out. Just think about what would that be? What would that cost be? I'll put that here. I'm going to add it here. OK, so you added up 19, 20, 31, 39, 40 cents a bottle, 25. Oh, we have a dead tie. I only have one shirt. So the showdown here, the showdown is going to be how much do you think we charge between the two? So it costs us 40 cents to make. How much do you think we sell it for? And you get one guess. How much do you think we sell it for? We don't sell it to the consumer. We sell it to a distributor. $1, and the guess over here? $1.35. OK, so we actually spend 77 cents. So you get the shirt. So just to help you, good job. We knew if we couldn't reach other stores, we weren't going to be in business. So we had to find other ways to get to market. And what we did was we put together a network, a patchwork of distributors that we called the C distributors. And in this case, C doesn't describe their quality. If I were describing their quality, they'd be more like D-. It just so happened that they all started with the letter C. So what happened? We went to the gourmet stores, and we said, we'd love you to carry this product. It's doing really well, like stores like Dean and DeLuca. And they say, well, we don't, how are you going to get it to us? And, well, why don't you talk to our cheese distributor? And so we got into the gourmet stores through the cheese distributors. Then I went to the delis. I went to, in Bethesda, there's a store called Bethesda Bagels. I said, we got to be there. He says, I don't work with a cheese distributor, but why don't you talk to my corned beef distributor? And sure enough, we started distributing through corned beef distributors. That got us to other delis. And then I tried to go to the supermarkets, and they say, well, we don't work with the corned beef guy or the cheese guy, but if you want to talk to my charcoal distributor, we can take your product. And sure enough, we started creating this presence. And eventually, we started getting enough shelf space that the beverage distributors started paying attention, and they started to return our calls. The challenge with beverage distributors are these are tough folks to deal with. They're really kind of territorial. Because every day they're fighting for shelf space. And so they have a little bit of prickly personalities. And I was trying to think about how I could illustrate that. I thought the best way to do it would actually be to share with you a voicemail from one of our beverage distributors that he left for one of our salespeople who's here. And I'm going to apologize in advance. The language is a little crude, but it's for illustrative purposes, so we get,
Yo, Mike, this is Louie from Twisted Distributors. Look, all the things that you up, if you don't handle that that works for you, bro, you could take your honesty and you could stick it up Dan Cavanaugh's big. You understand what I'm saying? I'm telling you, your honesty and that girl Judea.
Yeah. So anyway, you get the sense of it. But what do you say? You can't make that stuff up. In my view, there's no such thing as a socially responsible company. It's really a matter of, we talk about it as a direction. It's a journey. It's not a destination. And the only business that isn't socially responsible is one that's not willing to be honest about the contradiction. The fact that we're a company committed to sustainability. We sell a ton of single-serve packages. And ideally, all of them are recycled. But national recycling rates are around 33%. So that means 2/3 of our packages end up in landfill. But we're committed to organics, and we're committed to healthier diets. So there's a lot of contradictions that we live in. And like I say, for us, there's no one way to solve it except to try to be honest about it. And so we have a report we put out every year called Keeping It Honest, which is we disclose what's going on, what's the life cycle analysis of the product, and this is on our website. And then we also rely on third parties to verify whether it's organic or fair trade. Don't just take our word for it. Let's make sure there's a paper trail to show that we've been inspected. Okay, so that's how we took the production to scale. What about innovation? Well, in 2006, I was making my kids' lunches. And my middle son said, "Hey, Dad, I know you sell healthy drinks to grown-ups, but how come you put really sugary drinks in my lunchbox?" And I looked, and I had one of these pouches that had 100 calories per pouch. And when you do the math on that, it's a 6.75-ounce pouch. That's more sugar per ounce than a can of soda. And that's what most people were putting in their lunchbox, their kids' lunchbox. And so it said, well, we better create a solution to this. And so we created a product called Honest Kids. 40 calories per pouch, organic ingredients, and it's just been under explosive growth. It's now more than a third of our business. So I've been talking a lot. I want to open it up for questions, but before I do, let me just share with you two big thoughts. This is a Chinese proverb. If we don't change the direction we are headed, we will end up where we are going. So where are we going as a society? We're not going in a good place. The United Nations recently ranked the average life expectancy of all the 200 countries in the world. And before I tell you where the United States plays, just keep in mind the United States is the wealthiest nation in the history of the world. We have more advanced knowledge of science and medicine than any civilization has ever had. But we're not number 1 in average life expectancy. We're not number 2. We're number 40. So what does that say about our society, about our diets, about our lifestyles, about our lack of connection to the natural world, about our lack of connection to each other? It means we're headed in the wrong direction. And as much as I respect big companies, they're not going to be the ones to put us in the right direction because they're kind of invested in that direction. And as I was going to say, as much as I respect the government, but I'm not sure I could say, the government's not going to take us there because they're not doing anything. So the solutions are going to come from entrepreneurs. It's going to come from people who can find different ways to create solutions. But what we're doing is really, we think, is important. It's something, as you probably can tell, we care a lot about. And this kind of work is hard, and there's a lot of people who say it can't be done. And for that, I'm going to share with you in closing this proverb, which shows up on the wall of Honest Tea's office in Bethesda. Those who say it cannot be done should not interrupt the people doing it. And when you care about something, when you care about something worthwhile, you may not always succeed, but doing it is part of what's important. And when we, at the end of the book, I close it by saying, there were some people who said Honest Tea was in the right place at the right time. We kind of got lucky. I said, well, it took us 10 years to get to the right place at the right time. But whether or not we succeeded or not, if you're doing something you believe in, you're in the right place at the right time. Thank you very much.